Welcome back to the Veterans Radio Show. I hope you're having an amazing day today. Thank you for tuning in, especially on a holiday weekend. On our Veterans Radio Show, we talk with heroes in action, making it happen for our veteran community. I am your host, Dali Rivera, who is also a proud Army veteran. And I want to welcome our live audience on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Amazon Live, and of course, our podcast listeners. It means a world to us that you make time to tune in. And without you, we would not be able to broadcast this segment. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and please share this episode with another veteran. And let's hear your thoughts in the comments during the show because we love seeing your questions and answering them while we are live. So my guest today is our founder, Joe Molina. And we have a little bit of information to share with you. I'm going to share a little bit about what I'm doing for the purpose of just sharing knowledge. So, Joe, do you want to come in and ask me some questions? So let me get started while he comes in. So Joe invited me to share about what I've been up to with my business because like many of you, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm learning as I go. So I was telling Joe that I delved into book publishing and I'm doing it in the self-publishing realm. And it's been really, really interesting. So Joe, have you ever published a book before? You have?
Several.
So, yeah. So did you go the Amazon route or with a publisher?
Well, I did both, Dali, and from my personal experience, I went through a publisher. But like everything else, when you go through a publisher to a company, it happens to the writers. The same thing happens to a lot of people out there who use publishing companies or things like that. They take a huge chunk out of your royalties, huge. I mean, on the 90 percentile. So as
Yeah.
a writer, you get very, very little. So when Amazon came on with the self-publishing approach, a self-publishing route, I went on and took that route and I published other books through the self-publishing route through Amazon. Amazon takes about 30% of whatever comes in, and that's a route that I took, and that's fantastic. The other route is the use of a textbook, because I write textbooks, not necessarily books, storybooks, but textbooks. And so then going through some of the bookstores at the community colleges who have agreed to take on the book or the textbook or a workbook, and then just go direct. So
Mhm.
the different venues. So which way did you decide to go?
So I decided to go with Amazon with their expanded distribution, which is something I had no idea existed, and it's pretty cool. So for a lot of you who are listening, you can check this out on their website. But how it works is that the booksellers and libraries they purchase paperbacks from large distributors, right? They buy them in bulk. So if you enroll in your paperback, if you enroll your paperback through Amazon in their expanded distribution program,
Hmm.
they will make their book available to distributors so that booksellers and libraries can find your book and order it. And one of the things that I've done in the past for other people's books is that I recommend certain books to, say, unified school districts.
Mm.
And when I began my work providing education on bullying awareness and prevention, I would go to that library and if I had already set up some workshops, I would go and say, "Hey, I'm having these workshops, and I think that these books would go along with this workshop to promote literacy." So I was so surprised that that worked, and while I didn't gain anything from it, I recommended books, and they actually purchased large volumes of books. So that's definitely something that I wanted to share today as a resource. Look into it. Don't worry about just, not knowing anything about it because they actually have a great customer service number where you can call and ask a lot of questions. So that was the tidbit that I wanted to share today, Jason.
Okay.
Well, I called you Jason. I called you by our guest's name. Oh yeah, our new guest that we're gonna bring in here in a moment. His name is Jason Gleason, And he is a nurse practitioner and a member of the American Association of Nurse Practitioners. He's also retired U.S. Air National Guard Lieutenant Colonel, and he's a founder of the Rocky Mountain Stroke Conference. And Joe, I think that this was a great option to bring him in. So thank you so much. Anything you want to say before we bring him in?
No, I think it was really nice to see that Jason agreed to be part of the show, and so I would just like Jimmy to take me out, and then you can take on the show, and then just talk to Jason and see what he has to share.
All right. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
All right, so we're bringing in now Jason, and he has, I think you're gonna love what he does. Hi, Jason, how are you? Oh, he bleeped out. This is what live shows look like, so bear with us. Well, in case he's not able to come in, I just want to give you a little tidbit about his background. Oh, there he is. How are you?
How are you? Good afternoon. I'm so sorry for the technical issues.
That's all right. Well, we really appreciate you making time to come in here and share about what it is you're doing so that you can be a resource to so many others who might be looking for what you have to offer. So, can you give us a little background of what you did in the military and how long you were in?
Absolutely. You know, it's such an honor to serve in the military in the United States Air Force, Air National Guard for 20 years. Yeah, I retired in 2015, but it was the honor of my life, just a lifetime for me. And honestly, now I get to take care of our veterans at the VA, and that's even a greater honor just to connect with and empower and hopefully inspire, some of our greatest generations, all of our veterans that come in to see us at the VA.
Yeah, thank you so much. I know that that is a really tough job. I know that nurses are overworked and a lot of them I mean, like in your situation, you do the travel nursing, right?
Travel nursing.
Yeah, is
You
that
know,
something that you do?
what I actually do is I work in primary care at the VA. So I'm at a primary care clinic in Great Falls, Montana, taking care of our veterans.
Mhm.
So I stay put as far as that goes, but I travel around the country doing education on stroke, and I also teach board review for nurse practitioner students.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I thought I read something like that on your bio that you were traveling around. So tell us more about that work.
Well, at the VA, again, as I mentioned, I work in primary care and I see patients on a daily basis. And I have to say, as I mentioned, it's such an honor because when they come to us, they have health issues, but also what I think we can make a big impact for our veterans in is their mental health. Many of them come with wounds that have never been addressed because they're on the inside, such as PTSD and the like. So we can get them the care that they need. And truly, it's a model for the rest of the country because we have in many of our VA clinics walk-in mental health services. So if somebody's in a crisis, they can come right in and see us and we can get them the help that they need right away.
Yeah, I was really surprised because that hasn't always been available. I remember you had to go through intake. It would take months sometimes just to do the intake, and then after that to get assigned to someone. So it's really nice that the VA has improved in that way. So what can you tell us about, the myths, I guess you can say, that exist out there, so that we can debunk them and maybe motivate people to go ahead and use those services?
Absolutely. At the VA, I heard that too as a veteran, with my 20 years of military service, that, if you go to the VA, there's going to be a lot of delay in care. They have done so much across the country, not just in Montana, but across the entire country in our health system within the VA, which is the largest health system in the United States. And they've done so much to improve access to care. Here's an example. When I go into my clinic each day, I start off my morning by going to a dashboard and it talks about my panel, my patients, how many patients we have, what kind of health issues that they're dealing with overall. And then part of that panel tells me is, what, if a veteran calls our clinic, how long do they have to wait to get in to see me? So not just myself, but every provider across the VA has access to this panel, and we look at it every single day. And so for my panel, for example, I have like a 2 to 3 day time frame to get patients in. So that far exceeds the civilian world, where you can wait weeks to months to get in. So we've done.
Mhm. Uh-oh, he dropped off. Oh, it was getting so good. Well, while we wait on Jason to see if he can connect back, I just want to point out that so he's a nurse practitioner, and I think a lot of people don't really understand what that means. When you go to the doctor, you see somebody, and sometimes you don't realize that the person that you're seeing is not the MD. They're nurse practitioners, which is kind of like a level down from going to medical school and getting that MD. They're just as effective and knowledgeable. Actually, I happen to believe that they're even more knowledgeable than people who get their MD. So one of the things that I've always learned to do is that when I go to the VA or any healthcare provider, I always ask, what is your title or what credentials do you have? And sometimes that helps depending, for me at least, to understand, like the type of education that they've had. And, like sometimes some people can answer questions better than others. So, especially when it comes to women's health, I think that's been a challenge, I think, in overall in the VA system, which has also improved, and I'm very, very grateful for that. But the other thing I wanted to mention about Jason is that he does the stroke education, just stroke awareness. And he, unfortunately, he lost his wife to stroke when she was only 40 years old. And today he's in the areas of healthcare that focuses on speaking to audiences nationally. So he founded the Rocky Mountain Stroke Conference, which in its fifth year brings together hundreds of healthcare practitioners across the country to knock out stroke, crush disabilities, and save lives. So I just wanted to point that out because I think that it's a topic that a lot of us don't know about. I think it's a topic that people are afraid to talk about, and we need more awareness. And can you imagine, most people think that strokes can only happen to really like older people, but that's not so. So I'm going to bring Joe back in. Let's see if maybe Joe has anything to add or any questions. So we can, there we go. Hi, Joe. Welcome back.
Hey, darling. Yeah, it's always nice. And yeah, no, sometimes we have, technical difficulties, or guests have technical difficulties, whatever they are. And like you said, this is the nature of a live podcast or live show. But
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
that shows that it's real, and that's that's what's happening. But I like
Mhm.
what one of the things I like about what Jason does is like he's a great resource for veterans who are going to the VA to see the inside of and how the VA works from the inside. Because many veterans, like he said, the VA is a huge monster, and if you don't know the pathway where to go, you can end up losing yourself in the path and not finding the right resources or the right help. So we kind of trying to connect with as many people as we can that are part of the VA process, so we can give them a warm introduction. So when they have questions or they have issues, they already know someone on the inside, and that's very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think we want to re-invite Jason for the follow-up show. That way he can prepare. Sometimes the internet is a little bit difficult, challenging, and so give him another chance to do the full presentation, and that way he can share with us all the great things that he does. But before we
Yeah.
go, I would like to kind of tap again into what you are doing with the book. And what I would like to do is, what do we can do this as a show, and talk about what he does that you were sharing. But I noticed, do you think there's a lot of people out there who like this information that will benefit from learning on how to do a self-publishing book, that they will be willing to kind
Yeah.
of listen to your experiences and see how you're doing and maybe help them out that way?
Yeah, I definitely think it's something that people need and are looking for, because when I started mentioning to my colleagues and just people, other entrepreneurs that I've connected with, that I'm launching a book, a lot of them came to me and said, "Hey, how are you doing that? I've been wanting to do that for so many years, but because I don't know how to get started, I have no idea, like what to expect, so I just didn't do anything." And that's very common, right? A lot of people stand in their own way only because they're of the unknown. And so I started just sharing basic information, and they really like it. I think that everybody has a book within them. Everybody has a story of maybe a challenge, hardship, and how they overcame it. And you can have the same story of hardship, like maybe 10 different ones, and people say, oh well, that's already been written. But the way that it happened to you could resonate with another person. And everybody has a different perspective from the experiences. So that's one of the reasons why I wrote my book. And it's called Confident Bully Proof for Kids, because I teach bullying awareness and prevention education to parents. So one of the questions that I get is, well, why do you write this for parents? Why not the kids? Well, the kids are receiving some information at school, but really, I believe that the responsibility to teach about bullying awareness and prevention, kindness, and everything like that, and confidence is the parents, because we're the number one influencers in children. And in order for us to change society, to change how, I mean, look at the public, like the media right now, all this stuff about division and horrible things going on. If we want to improve society, we have to educate our children at home. You can't just expect schools, educators to do it alone. So I created this. I actually co-wrote it with a special education teacher. Her name is Amy Joy, and we just came up with a lot of prompts that the kids can use to respond properly to bullying without escalating the situation. We are giving away a lot of tips in the book for parents on how to approach the school, because that's also an issue. A lot of parents, they get wrapped up in emotion and they march in there really angry, and they're like, you need to do this for my kid. So this book is very comprehensive. We have a lot of examples, and I'm really excited. It's going to launch August 15th, and it'll be available on Amazon. I hired an editor who has been amazing. So yeah, thank you for the question, Joe.
No, it is. I think one of the challenges that I mean, we do this when we helping people start businesses. Fear is the highest and the strongest obstacle that the people mention when they're starting a business or any project. I mean, any project can be a business, any business can be a project, but overcoming those challenges, again, the main obstacle is fear, and and fear of the unknown, fear of the steps, fear of the process. It's like I was telling you earlier, we are doing now a process to help small businesses going to the contracting arena. And as a chamber, we have contracts with the state, we have contracts with counties, but how do we get to that point? How, what took us for us to get there? And so we're sharing those goals, those successes, so people can kind of follow their own path, of course, but also learn from our experience and that kind of thing. But one of the main things, and I will close with this, is that there is two paths, and people get confused. And there's two paths. There is the government side, which is huge. I mean, everything you do. I mean, in the military, even the pens that we bought. I don't know if you remember this. Going to, I was in logistics, so going into the store and like, okay, we got to spend $3,000 and go and get whatever you guys need. And then we just go to this place where they have, and just grab pens or markers or whatever you needed, and then just go and do that. But they also gave us light bulbs, they gave us curtains, they gave us door stoppers. All those things are contracts that people provide to the military. And there are other big things, nowadays, they have drones. I mean, the major military builders are huge contractors, Lockheed Martin, all those. Well, those are outside of anybody's range for the most part. They have their own stuff. But there is the small contracts, the cities, the counties, the community colleges, the school districts. That what you were talking about, your book, that's a contract. So all those things can be turned into a contract within an entity. But how to do that? What do you need to get into that environment? And that's one area. The second area is when small businesses go and kind of compete in the private sector. So you have uh, small businesses that are going to go into the, yeah, there is the Targets, the Walmarts, the Amazons, the the Teslas, the Fords, but there's also the more reachable companies. You have Cox Cable, you have small cell phone companies, small franchising companies, restaurants, people like that, small businesses who are more open to give contracts to veterans and what we call diversity and diversity suppliers. So we form we have formed a network coalition of veterans and diverse owned businesses. So it can be anybody, and that kind of falls into that. We want to help the micro business, this solo entrepreneur, solopreneur, the what we call the low income entrepreneur, and these are individuals who are in low income areas. There's a lot of businesses that can be provided when someone lives in a low income area. So stuff like this, we are helping those connect and match. So there's three objectives. One is education, how to get your license and your certification. The second one is how to apply, where to find those contracts. And the third one is how to match the small business with the company so they can have a connection. Kind of like when we're looking for a job, you need those three things also. It's the same process. So that's really what we're doing and how we're helping the small businesses do that. And it's pretty exciting, and we're focusing right now in on training as building up and doing online and also face-to-face training. So that's kind of the new project of the chamber.
That's amazing. I think that you're gonna have a lot of people asking about, when. Do you have any dates set yet?
We do have a training coming up in Southern California, and that's on next Wednesday. Whatever that next Wednesday is. 1 second. So that'll be the 21st. The 21st.
The 21st.
So Wednesday 21st in Southern California. But if someone wants to attend this online, they can just send us an email, and then we can give them the link. And also we have in August an online certification intro program, because one thing that we want to do is not just educate, but we are creating an incubator. We want to make this into a hands-on kind of incubator process, so people can start, get the basic knowledge, because then people need that, so that way the consultants and the advisors can actually help them go through the process. So they need the basic foundation. Those who continue, then they go into the incubator process, and then they go and actually learn how to get the licenses, how to get their, like you were talking about earlier, the DUNS number, the SAMS number, whatever that is, and then getting the type of certifications that are applicable to them and who's going to help them. So they go through that process on the government side, and at the same time, through the incubator, they go through the process on the private sector side. So the incubator side on the government sector, they go through SBA funded programs, which they have the consulting side. So we send them, we already have the connections with them, and they go and take on that, and they go through that process. And then on the private sector, the chamber is the one that's conducting that. So we bring on the consultants and the advisors to do that, to kind of help people go through the process. And because they don't need two DUNS numbers, they just need one. But what's the classification they want to go after? They want to go for women-owned business, female veteran-owned business. Like in your case, you get two, right? Female and female veteran, and then also small business. So all those certifications. So that you get both sides. So when you're applying for a contract, whether it's with a manufacturing company or whether it's with a library, they can go for the private side. But when you're applying with the government side, then you can also send, I'm certified on this. and so you can show the certification. Certification is like anything else. You know, when someone is certified to be a, you know, like say Microsoft something, so they have a certification or the ISO 1000 or 2000 or 9000, whatever that is, then they have that certification. So
Yeah.
this is the same way, you know, and it's also how to use it, where to promote it, and there is in companies, government and companies, they contract with third-party platforms to provide the opportunities. So we teach people where to go to request that. So all that
Okay.
stuff.
Wow. So much information, Joe. I feel like we need to have a whole separate episode just for that because there are so many questions that people have, including myself.
Mhm.
And it's such a great opportunity that is not being tapped on. But we're out of time.
Okay.
So people will have to tune in next time. But Joe, thank you
Well,
so much for
before we go, I just want to say hi to so a few people. I want to say hi to Shelly, our other host,
Yeah.
and also to Mark Mays, which is also our director at Riverside, and to Ray in San Diego, and Chuck in San Diego, and but also want to thank Jimmy for his work behind the scenes, dealing with all of our issues, and also, and today especially, we want to say happy birthday to Kelly. That's why she's not here today. Today is
Oh,
her
okay.
birthday, and so we just want to say
Aw,
happy birthday to Kelly, and
happy birthday, Kelly.
right. So hope to
Oh,
save us some cake.
yes.
Right?
And I can't wait to see her again. We always have such amazing conversations.
My gosh, it's
But yeah.
just is full of information and resources, and I'm very honored to be working with her, and for all of us to be working with her, but also
Yeah.
in our fund program, because our fund program is kind of fun. So
Well, thank you so much, Joe. I mean, really, if it weren't for you, we wouldn't have the Veterans Chamber here and or this show. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope that you are able to take advantage of Jason's resource. You know, remember that you can check out Rocky Mountain Stroke Conference and reach out to him as well. And thank you again, Jimmy. And we'll see you all next time.